Are you ready to learn the truth about how to survive in a place where a modern person would freeze to death in a matter of hours? They lived where we wouldn't last a single day without warm radiators and hot tea. For centuries, the indigenous peoples of North America inhabited the vast Great Plains and the snow-covered forests of the Northeast. Their lives unfolded amid harsh winters when temperatures dropped to critical levels and the icy wind cut to the bone. In such conditions, the slightest weakness or carelessness meant certain death from the cold. The Lakota, Cheyenne, Arapaho, and Iroquois tribes developed a unique system for survival in this icy hell. These methods were passed down from generation to generation, becoming an integral part of their daily culture. Today, many of these practices seem impossible to us or beyond human capabilities. However, it was precisely these practices that allowed Native Americans to maintain perfect health in the midst of the fiercest blizzards. Watch the video to the end, and you'll learn how the 90-second rule in bare fat helped Native Americans endure the damp cold without any harm to their bodies. What if I told you that everything you believed about winter clothing is a lie? The indigenous peoples of the Great Plains did not try to insulate themselves from the cold with heavy layers of waterproof fabrics. Their approach to the harsh climate was based on complete integration with the environment and acceptance of low temperatures. Instead of creating an artificial barrier between the body and the cold, they adapted their bodies to the harsh conditions. This philosophy shaped their daily lives from the earliest years of every tribe member's life. For the Lakota or Crow Indians, the winter cold was not an enemy to be fought. They viewed the frost as a natural part of the cycle of nature, requiring a specific rhythm of life and proper preparation. Clothing served merely as a supplement to the body's internal resilience, not as the primary line of defense. This approach differed radically from the European tradition of wrapping oneself in furs at the slightest drop in temperature. Inner fire and hardening were considered far more reliable means of keeping warm during the long winter months. From a young age, future warriors and hunters grew accustomed to the effects of cool air and icy water. Daily morning ablutions in the river continued even when the water's surface was covered with a thin crust of ice. This practice triggered powerful internal thermoregulatory mechanisms, forcing the body to generate the necessary heat on its own. The skin gradually adapted to sudden temperature changes, becoming less susceptible to the biting wind. Regular exposure to the cold strengthened the immune system, making it invulnerable to seasonal ailments. The diet during the cold months also underwent significant changes, adapting to the body's needs. The winter menu was based on foods high in animal fats and dense proteins. Pemmican, a mixture of dried meat, crushed berries, and rendered fat, became the main source of energy. This high-calorie food was digested slowly, providing the body with a long-lasting supply of internal fuel for warmth. Thick meat broths helped quickly restore strength after prolonged exposure to the biting wind. The longhouses of the Iroquois, located in the northeastern forests, had their own unique features for winter survival. These massive structures made of tree bark could accommodate several dozen people at once. The central passage served as a place to light several fires, the heat from which was evenly distributed throughout the space. However, the temperature remained quite low near the walls, requiring the inhabitants to constantly toughen themselves. People slept on raised platforms, covering themselves with layers of blankets made from deer and bear skins. Physical activity in the open air never ceased for a single day, regardless of weather conditions. Men regularly went on winter hunts, tracking prey through deep snow on snowshoes. Women gathered firewood, tanned hides, and kept the open-air camp in order. Constant movement kept the blood flowing through their veins, preventing their bodies from cooling even in the harshest frosts. It was this continuous activity that was the key to maintaining high energy levels and good health. The Native Americans' unique philosophy held that physical weakness stems from mental weakness. They believed that fear of the cold causes a person to tense up, disrupting the proper flow of energy. Therefore, a calm, serene attitude toward the cold was cultivated as one of the warriors' chief virtues. Maintaining a clear mind and steady breathing helped them endure extreme temperatures without panic or fuss. Psychological resilience served as just as important a shield against the elements as warm clothing. Today, it's hard for us to imagine how anyone could voluntarily expose themselves to icy water and biting winds. However, for the peoples of North America, This was the only true path to harmony with the harsh, natural world. Their methods prove that the human body possesses tremendous hidden potential to adapt to the most extreme conditions. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you agree that modern people are too pampered by comfort? Let us know in the comments. And be sure to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on new fascinating historical investigations. Guess what happened next when the first snow covered the Great Plains? The Native Americans didn't rush to take shelter in their warm teepees and close the vents. On the contrary, the onset of real cold weather signaled the start of an intensive phase of physical training for all members of the tribe. The method of constant cold hardening was the foundation of their phenomenal resistance to low temperatures. Daily routines included rubbing themselves with snow and immersing themselves in icy river currents. The secret to the success of this practice lay in its absolute regularity and the gradual increase in intensity. The process of adapting to the cold took many months of continuous training. Young people began with light rub-downs of damp skin during the cool autumn mornings. As the air temperature dropped, the time spent without warm clothing gradually increased. The body learned to react instantly to the cold by sharply constricting the blood vessels on the skin surface. This rapid constriction of the vessels helped retain precious heat within the internal organs, preventing it from dissipating. A brief period of cooling was followed by a phase of active warming through intense physical exercise or running. Blood rushed with renewed vigor to the extremities, causing a sensation of intense internal heat and tingling. Such daily training made the cardiovascular system incredibly resilient and responsive to any temperature changes. As a result, the body acquired the ability to automatically maintain an optimal heat balance without additional effort. The Cheyenne and Comanche tribes were famous for their winter camps, located in sheltered river valleys. Even in such shelters, nighttime temperatures dropped to extreme lows, freezing the blood in their veins. Every morning began with people leaving their dwellings lightly clothed. They would head to the frozen river, break through the thin ice, and take a quick dip. This harsh routine washed away the remnants of sleep and charged the body with incredible energy for the entire day ahead. Subarctic peoples, such as the Athabascans, used similar methods adapted to the conditions of the far north. Their winters were even longer and harsher, requiring even greater discipline in matters of thermoregulation. They practiced quick runs in the cold without outer clothing to train their lungs and hearts. Inhaling icy air in small doses trained the respiratory system to function without failure, even in the most bitter cold. These exercises allowed them to make multi-day treks across endless snow-covered expanses without harming their health. Hardening was not merely a physical process. It required immense willpower and concentration. A person had to mentally accept the cold, ceasing to perceive it as a hostile, destructive force. The Native Americans learned to relax their muscles upon contact with icy water, rather than instinctively tensing up. This relaxation allowed the body to adapt more quickly and avoid thermal shock. Calm, rhythmic breathing helped control the nervous system's reaction to the stressful effects of the environment. The results of such training amazed the first European explorers who encountered the continent's indigenous peoples. They described with astonishment how the Native Americans walked calmly through the snow barefoot or in light moccasins. While travelers wrapped in furs suffered from frostbite, the locals felt perfectly fine. Their skin remained warm to the touch even after prolonged exposure to the biting winter wind. This served as clear evidence of the superiority of their adaptation system over the European approach to cold protection. Daily exposure to the cold turned the peoples of North America into true masters of winter survival. Their bodies functioned like perfect, reliable furnaces, capable of generating and retaining vital heat on their own. Do you think you could endure even a single day of such a winter routine on the Great Plains? In the next chapter, you'll learn why wet clothing was considered the most dreaded enemy and how Native Americans dealt with this threat in a matter of seconds. Are you ready to learn this harsh secret of survival? The hidden truth that everyone keeps quiet about lies in the 90-second rule. Across the vast Great Plains and in the dense forests of the East, water in winter was more terrifying than any predator. Falling through the ice of a river or getting soaked in a sudden freezing rain meant almost certain death. Wet clothing instantly drew heat away from the body, accelerating the process of hypothermia tenfold. That is why the Native Americans had a strict rule of action in such critical situations, honed to absolute automaticity. The essence of this method was to get rid of wet gear within the first minute and a half. Native American hunters understood perfectly well that water crystallizes in the cold and turns clothing into an icy shell. Leaving wet leather garments on was tantamount to voluntarily plunging into a frozen glacier. As soon as a person emerged from the water, they didn't waste time trying to wring out their clothes while still wearing them. All wet items of gear were immediately thrown straight onto the snow, leaving the body completely exposed. Being naked in the bitter cold was much safer than staying in leather soaked with icy water. The indigenous people knew that dry, cold air cools the body much more slowly than wet fabric. After discarding his wet clothes, the Native American would begin to vigorously rub his skin with dry snow or tufts of dry grass. This action served two important functions at once. It removed residual moisture from the body's surface and stimulated blood circulation. The rubbing continued until the skin became completely dry and took on a bright red hue. The 90-second rule was practiced and drilled until it became an unconditional, uncontrolled muscle reflex. No panic or confusion was to interfere with clear, well-rehearsed actions the moment they fell into the icy water. The hunters mentally replayed this scenario in their heads so that their bodies would instinctively know what to do in an emergency. Quick and decisive movements helped preserve precious fragments of internal heat, preventing it from escaping into the surrounding environment. It was precisely this speed of reaction that often became the decisive factor separating survival from death in the winter forest. The Iroquois peoples, who traveled across numerous frozen lakes and rivers, adhered particularly strictly to this safety technique. Their routes often ran across thin autumn or spring ice, which could crack at any unpredictable moment. Each hunter carried a special long pole to help pull themselves out of a hole if they fell through. Once on solid ground, they acted with lightning speed, shedding their heavy, wet moccasins and leggings. Dry snow was always at hand, serving as an excellent tool for quickly rubbing and drying frozen skin. Special attention was paid to keeping the feet dry, as they froze faster than the rest of the body. Native American moccasins had no stiff soles, which allowed the foot to move freely and retain heat through muscle activity. However, they got wet easily, so a layer of dry grass, moss, or rabbit fur was often placed inside the shoes. This lining absorbed excess moisture and created an additional insulating layer against the frozen, icy ground. If it got wet, this inner insole could be easily and quickly replaced with a new dry one. The art of staying dry in the winter forest was a true science, carefully passed down from elders to the younger generation. The Indians knew how to read the snow, determining the driest and safest routes for traveling across the plains. They avoided areas with wet, heavy snow, preferring to walk on compacted snow or rocky outcrops. The ability to anticipate danger and avoid it was the first rule of survival, and the 90-second rule was the last chance. This strict discipline saved countless lives in the vast, snow-covered expanses of North America. In the harsh conditions of nature, there was no room for delay or hope for a lucky break. The 90-second rule demonstrates the phenomenal practicality of indigenous peoples and their deep understanding of the physics of cold. They didn't fight the icy water, they simply deprived it of the opportunity to steal their vital heat. This harsh but incredibly effective method was dictated by nature itself and allowed for no mistakes. If you like this amazing survival technique, be sure to like this video. A secret that people pay thousands for? Native Americans use completely free of charge. We're talking about creating a powerful artificial barrier between the skin and the harsh external environment. The Native Americans of the Great Plains and forested regions actively used animal fats to protect their bodies from severe cold. Bear fat, in particular, was considered the most valuable and effective means of creating such reliable insulation. The thick, dense consistency of this product made it an ideal natural cream, impervious to cold wind and moisture. Before long winter treks or before sleeping in a cold teepee, the Native Americans would carefully rub exposed areas of their bodies. Their faces, hands, and feet were covered with a generous layer of melted animal fat, which quickly solidified in the cool air. This invisible film acted as an extra layer of skin, blocking the loss of internal heat through open pores. The wind simply glided over the greasy surface, unable to penetrate to the person's sensitive nerve endings. Such protection allowed hunters to spend hours outdoors without the risk of serious heat loss. This procedure was particularly important during the preparation for sleep in conditions of extremely low temperatures. At night, metabolism slows down and the body produces less heat, becoming more vulnerable to the frosty night air. Fat, generously applied before sleep, helped preserve the precious heat accumulated by the body during the day. This created a comfortable microclimate under the sleeping skins, preventing sudden hypothermia during the cold pre-dawn hours. In the morning, the remaining fat was not washed off, leaving it as a base protective layer for the entire frosty day ahead. The Comanche and Arapaho peoples used bison fat when bear fat was unavailable in their region. Bison fat was harder and required warming in the palms before being applied to the skin. It formed an even denser, almost waxy film that provided excellent protection against freezing rain and slushy wet snow. This film repelled water, preventing it from soaking through the clothing and reaching the warm, vulnerable body. Thus, fat served as a crucial component in the complex waterproofing system of Native American winter field gear. The practice of applying fat to the body also had a certain sacred meaning in the culture of many tribes. It was believed that along with the fat, a person acquired the strength and endurance of the animal to which it once belonged. The bear was associated with power, warmth, and the ability to endure long, harsh, snowy winters without suffering. By rubbing himself with its fat, a warrior symbolically donned the skin of this mighty forest lord of the taiga. This psychological mindset gave the Native Americans additional confidence in their own strength in the face of the merciless winter elements. European traders who first visited Native American winter camps often complained about the pungent smell of animal fat. However, they soon realized that it was precisely this odorous armor that saved the locals from the brutal winter frosts. Many trappers and pioneers subsequently adopted this practice, abandoning their customary standards and hygiene routines. The choice between a pleasant smell and survival in the wild was absolutely clear to everyone. Fat became a universal shield, separating the warm human body from the indifferent, icy, snow-covered wasteland. The use of animal fats became one of the simplest and most effective responses to the challenge of the harsh northern climate. This natural barrier reliably retained internal heat, allowing tribes to thrive on the snowy, windy plains. Would you be willing to smear yourself with bear fat to stay warm in the bitter winter cold? In the next chapter, you'll learn how Native Americans used a collective approach to stay warm during their long winter sleep. Are you ready to discover another secret of Native American survival? Surviving in extreme cold was a challenge that was simply impossible to overcome alone. The indigenous peoples of North America relied on the power of the collective, turning the group itself into a powerful, reliable source of heat. On the coldest nights when temperatures dropped to critical levels, they used a method of taking turns sleeping at night. This tactic allowed them to maintain a vital level of warmth in the dwelling without interruption throughout the long night. The group functioned as a single, coordinated organism where each member performed their role for the sake of collective survival. The essence of the method was that all the inhabitants of the teepee or longhouse never fell asleep at the same time. The tribe divided into groups that took turns staying awake, fulfilling the crucial role of constant guardians of the hearth. While one group slept, huddled close together under thick bison hides, the others kept the night watch. Those on duty kept the fire burning steadily, adding wood carefully to avoid thick, suffocating smoke. Their task was to maintain a constant, gentle heat that prevented the cold from penetrating the living space. The awake members of the group did not simply sit by the fire. They actively monitored the condition of their sleeping companions. If someone accidentally uncovered themselves in their sleep or moved too close to the cold wall, they were immediately and gently adjusted. Those on duty could also massage the frozen limbs of the sleepers, stimulating blood flow and preventing the dangerous effects of the cold. This constant attention and care ensured that no one would suffer from hypothermia during the hours of deep nighttime sleep. After a few hours, the groups would switch roles, ensuring that everyone had the opportunity to rest fully in safe warmth. In extreme situations, such as during a sudden, severe snowstorm while hunting, the group used the tight circle technique. The hunters sat down in the snow, pressing their backs against one another and covering themselves with a single large, thick pelt. The breath of several people inside such a small enclosed space quickly raised the temperature to a quite acceptable level. The air inside warmed up, turning the shelter into a small lifeboat in the midst of a raging storm. In this position, they could wait out the bad weather for hours on end, only occasionally stretching their stiff shoulder and leg muscles. Taking turns sleeping required an incredibly high level of trust and enormous responsibility from every member of the tribe. The person who took the night watch clearly understood that the lives of all his sleeping companions were in his hands. The slightest carelessness with fire or accidentally falling asleep could lead to the most tragic consequences for the entire group. This collective responsibility strengthened social bonds within the tribe, making it a unified, monolithic, and invincible unit. Overcoming the hardships of winter together fostered a deep sense of unconditional mutual support and true brotherhood among all the warriors. Collective heating and taking turns sleeping have proven to be highly effective over many long centuries. Indigenous peoples transformed a harsh necessity of life into a perfectly coordinated system in which every person served as a source of warmth. The group functioned as a complex, reliable heating system capable of withstanding the harshest winter frosts of North America. This example vividly demonstrates that unity and absolute solidarity are the best weapons against the merciless, freezing elements. Together, they created warmth where, according to the strict laws of nature, only icy darkness should have reigned. What was found in the old archives overturns our understanding of ancient medicine and the possibilities of survival. The Native Americans of the Great Plains possessed profound knowledge of local botany and the power of medicinal plants. The winter diet was always supplemented with specific decoctions and infusions that maintained the immune system at the highest level of protection. These herbs did not merely relieve symptoms, they prevented the very possibility of serious colds and seasonal illnesses from occurring. Nature served as a vast pharmacy for them, where every possible threat had its own effective, powerful antidote. One of the main allies in the constant battle against winter ailments was the common red willow bark. Native American healers gathered it in late fall, carefully dried it, and finally ground it for long-term winter storage. A decoction made from this bark contained salicin, a natural counterpart to modern aspirin, which relieved internal inflammation and fever. This bitter drink was regularly consumed after long treks in the cold to prevent any and all ailments. It quickly stimulated blood circulation, warmed the body from within, and helped muscles fully relax after a hard day's physical labor. Coniferous trees, especially cedar and pine, provided a rich source of vitamin C during the long winter months. Fresh green needles were used to brew a thick, aromatic tea that the entire community drank almost every day. This drink not only provided excellent warmth, but also reliably protected the body from scurvy and seasonal fatigue. Coniferous essential oils possess powerful antibacterial properties, gently cleansing the respiratory tract of any harmful microorganisms. Inhaling steam from hot coniferous decoctions served as an excellent preventive measure against lung and throat ailments during severe frosts. Juniper berries were harvested for storage and added to food as a valuable spice and effective medicine. Their tart, resinous flavor paired perfectly with bison and venison, significantly aiding digestion. Juniper decoctions were successfully used to treat joint pain, which often arose from constant exposure to damp conditions. The berries were also often tossed into the smoldering embers of the hearth, so that the smoke would disinfect the air inside the tightly sealed dwelling. This fragrant smoke destroyed pathogenic bacteria, creating a completely healthy atmosphere in the densely populated winter tipi. Particular attention was paid to proper nutrition, which was intended to provide the body with maximum internal heat production. As already mentioned, the diet consisted primarily of pemmican, mixed with a large amount of pure, rendered internal fat. This food was so concentrated that a small handful was enough to sustain one's strength for a long day. The fat burned very slowly in the body, providing a steady and stable supply of heat without sudden energy spikes. The absence of simple carbohydrates in the diet made the Native Americans' energy balance ideal for surviving the harshest cold. The use of local herbs and a proper diet worked in incredibly close conjunction with physical hardening and psychological preparation. It was a unified, comprehensive system where each element supported and greatly amplified the effect of another. Herbal decoctions and a high-fat diet created a strong, reliable shield within the body against any ailments. Nature itself generously provided the indigenous peoples with all the necessary tools to maintain absolute, ironclad health. Do you think modern medicines could match the effectiveness of these ancient prairie recipes? In the next chapter, you'll learn how Native Americans sewed their clothing using the laws of physics to retain heat. Are you ready to delve into the secrets of ancient engineering? The clothing of the indigenous peoples of North America was a complex, high-tech system of thermoregulation and protection. Native Americans didn't just wrap themselves in pieces of hide, they designed their garments according to the strict laws of physics. The main principle behind winter gear was layering, which ensured that pockets of warm air were securely trapped. It was this still air, securely sealed between layers of leather and fur, that served as the best insulator against severe cold. A hunter could easily regulate his body temperature by adding or removing individual lightweight elements of this complex design. The inner layer of winter clothing was always made from the softest, very carefully tanned, thin deer or antelope hide. This comfortable shirt fits snugly against the body, without chafing the skin or restricting movement while running. The soft suede absorbed excess sweat perfectly, wicking it away from the body and preventing dangerous internal hypothermia. Leggings, which protected the legs, were tailored strictly to the individual to perfectly follow the contours of their sole owner's musculature. This approach ensured that the inner base layer would function like a second skin, reliably retaining natural body heat. Footwear played a crucial role in maintaining health, as cold spreads instantly upward from frozen feet. Native American winter moccasins differed from summer ones in their higher, sturdier shafts and the mandatory inclusion of a warm fur lining. Warm fox, coyote, or beaver pelts were tightly wrapped around the head, reliably shielding the vulnerable ears and back of the neck from the cold. Often, the animal's fluffy fur tail was deliberately left hanging down the back to cover the neck area. These head coverings were very light, warm, and did not restrict peripheral vision at all, which is critically important for a hunter. Mittens were also an essential part of winter field gear and were always sewn with the harsh conditions of use in mind. They were made of very thick leather, with the fur on the inside, and were specifically designed to leave enough room for easy finger movement. The large volume of air inside the roomy mittens allowed the hands to stay warm even during prolonged periods of complete inactivity. Often, the mittens were connected by a long leather cord that was looped around the neck so they could not be accidentally lost. A hunter could instantly slip them off to take a quick shot with a bow, knowing they would remain hanging on his chest. Tanning hides for winter clothing was an incredibly labor-intensive and time-consuming process that fell entirely on the shoulders of women. The hides were thoroughly cleaned of the flesh, then soaked in a special solution of wood ash and animal brains. They were then stretched for days on end and kneaded vigorously by hand until the material acquired the texture of the softest fabric. Native American clothing was a true masterpiece of practical design, born of harsh climatic necessity. It worked in perfect harmony with the body, greatly enhancing its natural ability to regulate temperature and provide protection. Air pockets trapped between thick hides served as invisible yet incredibly powerful armor against the icy breath of winter. Carefully thought-out cuts and materials made this armor lightweight, reliable, and as comfortable as possible for long-term wear. Every detail of the winter wardrobe had been tested over centuries and had proven its utmost effectiveness in the most extreme conditions. The architecture of indigenous dwellings was strictly subordinated to a single goal: creating a completely safe microclimate in any weather. The famous Native American teepee, used for centuries by the tribes of the Great Plains, was an ideal aerodynamic structure. Its conical shape allowed this tent to easily withstand the strongest gusts of winter gales without deforming. Snow did not accumulate on the sloping walls but slid smoothly downward, creating an additional thick insulating layer at the base. The interior of the teepee was carefully designed with the complex laws of convection and the proper movement of air masses in mind. The main secret of the teepee was the ingenious two-layer wall construction, which created the effect of a modern airtight thermos. Inside the main frame of long poles, an additional leather lining called ozon was stretched, extending all the way to the ground. A hollow air gap several dozen centimeters wide formed between the outer covering and this inner wall. Cold air entering from below quickly rose up through this corridor and exited through the upper smoke vent. Thus, drafts gently flowed around the living area, completely bypassing the people sitting peacefully by the central hearth. The longhouses of the Iroquois, built in dense forest areas, utilized a completely different principle for retaining internal heat. These massive rectangular structures were erected from sturdy logs and very tightly sheathed with wide strips of elm bark. Tree bark has excellent thermal insulation properties, reliably trapping heated air inside the vast living space. In winter, any remaining cracks were additionally sealed with clay and plugged with moss, turning the house into a warm, impregnable fortress. Along the entire length of the roof were smoke vents corresponding to the number of hearths in the central long passageway. The entrance openings in winter dwellings were deliberately made very small and low to minimize the loss of precious heat. A piece of thick leather stretched over a frame of willow twigs served as a door, fitting very tightly against the walls. To enter, a person had to bend down quite low, which prevented cold air from blowing in at chest level. The Iroquois often built a small vestibule in front of the entrance to the longhouse, which worked perfectly as an airlock. This buffer zone reliably kept the cold out, while a person brushed the snow off their shoes before entering the main warm room. Even during the harshest, longest days, when fierce, howling blizzards raged, life inside the dwellings never ceased for a moment. The Native Americans were actively engaged in repairing weapons, tanning hides, weaving baskets, and creating beautiful new winter clothing. The design of the winter camp was a true masterpiece of engineering, aimed at harmonious coexistence with the environment. The indigenous people made no attempt to conquer winter. Instead, they created conditions under which winter could not harm them. Their dwellings were warm, safe, and incredibly resilient to the whims of the harsh continental climate. Skillful management of the indoor microclimate allowed them to maintain their health and vitality for many long months. This experience clearly demonstrates that the genius of architecture lies in its absolute simplicity and understanding of the laws of nature. The physiology of survival in the cold depends directly on how a person moves and how they breathe correctly. Native Americans developed a special gait for winter treks that allowed them to conserve energy and avoid injury. They moved very smoothly, placing their feet flat and rolling gently from heel to toe with every step. This light, gliding motion minimized sinking into deep snow and significantly reduced the strain on the knee joints. The leg muscles worked optimally, constantly generating steady heat without sudden, dangerous surges of fatigue. Running on skis or snowshoes was also strictly governed by rules for maintaining rhythm and controlling breathing. Hunters avoided sudden, powerful bursts or sprints, preferring a monotonous but completely uninterrupted trot. Such a steady, consistent exertion allowed the cardiovascular system to function without failure for many hours at a time. The heart pumped blood steadily, supplying all the body's tissues with the necessary oxygen and a stable internal warmth. Maintaining a constant, measured pace was the main secret of the Native Americans' endurance during grueling, multi-day chases across the snow. A special breathing technique was vital for protecting the lungs from the direct impact of the biting, icy air. The Native Americans breathed exclusively through their noses, strictly avoiding deep breaths through an open mouth, even when severely fatigued. The human nasal passages are designed to warm, humidify, and filter incoming air before sending it to the lungs. Inhaling frosty air through the mouth inevitably led to severe hypothermia of the respiratory tract and the risk of serious illness. Control over this process was so strict that the habit of breathing correctly became ingrained as a deep, unshakable instinct. Hand movements in severe cold also had their own characteristics, aimed at quickly stimulating blood circulation in the fingers. When their hands froze severely, the Indians never rubbed them together, as this could easily damage the skin. Instead, they made wide, circular swings with their arms at maximum amplitude, using centrifugal force. This technique literally forced warm blood from the torso to the tips of their frozen fingers in a matter of seconds. A few such vigorous swings restored sensation to the hands far better than attempts to simply warm them with weak breath. Navigating in the blinding blizzard required incredible concentration and a keen ability to read the natural world. Getting lost in the blizzard meant wasting precious energy aimlessly, which inevitably led to exhaustion and certain death. A hunched posture severely disrupted normal blood circulation in the body and led to the constriction of vital muscle groups. An upright posture ensured the free, full expansion of the chest, which was critically important for deep, even breathing. The body functioned like a perfectly tuned mechanism, where every part was always in its rightful, proper place. The art of movement and proper deep breathing was the foundation upon which the entire strategy of winter survival was built. A technique honed by countless generations allowed Native Americans to easily cover vast distances without risk to their health. Their bodies did not struggle against the cold at all, but adapted perfectly to it through correct, biologically calibrated actions. These skills transformed the Native Americans into the absolute rightful masters of the snow-covered plains, completely immune to fatigue and illness. Their experience proves that the human body is capable of remarkable achievements when its resources are utilized with the absolutely correct approach. The indigenous people's legacy of survival represents a completely unique body of knowledge about human capabilities. Their methods sometimes seem harsh, but it is precisely this uncompromising nature that ensured survival in a completely hostile environment. The Native Americans proved that the secret to absolute health lies not in isolation from nature, but in a deep union with it. The Great Plains and cold forests showed absolutely no mercy to weakness, demanding the highest level of adaptation from their inhabitants. This adaptation touched every aspect of life, from the skillful construction of dwellings to the philosophy of perceiving the surrounding icy world. The modern world has in many ways completely lost this ancient connection with natural rhythms and natural methods of thermoregulation. Central heating and warm, comfortable cars have made us pampered, depriving our bodies of the need to fight for warmth on their own. We wrap ourselves in synthetic materials at the slightest draft, terrified of catching a cold from a mere cool breeze. Our immune system quickly loses its natural vitality, failing to receive the necessary training through exposure to low temperatures. The experience of Native American tribes compels us to seriously reflect on the high price we pay for absolute domestic comfort. The diet of indigenous peoples also attracts a great deal of attention from modern nutritionists and healthy lifestyle experts. High consumption of high-quality animal fats combined with a complete absence of refined sugars makes the body incredibly resilient. Such a diet provides a very stable energy level without sharp spikes in insulin and subsequent bouts of severe fatigue. The use of wild steppe herbs as natural immunomodulators has proven to be highly effective in preventing various diseases. A return to a more natural, wholesome diet may be the key to solving many modern health problems. The philosophy of dealing with the cold, practiced by all Native Americans, deserves special attention in the context of psychological and emotional resilience. They did not waste their energy on complaints or dissatisfaction with the harsh weather, accepting it as an inevitable fact of life. This natural stoicism helped them always maintain inner balance and focus on specific tasks necessary for survival. Panic and uncontrolled fear block rational thinking, which in the wild is tantamount to signing a death warrant. A calm, clear mind, on the other hand, is capable of easily finding a way out of even the most complex and seemingly hopeless life situation. Collectivism and mutual aid, which form the foundation of Native American society, also played a decisive, life-saving role in their survival. Overcoming all difficulties together strongly united the tribe, making it completely resilient to any external shocks. In today's overly individualistic society, this remarkable idea of social support is often unfairly pushed to the background. However, it is precisely the support of the group that provides any person with additional, very important resources for coping with stress and illness. Solidarity in the face of natural disasters is another very important lesson we can learn from the history of indigenous peoples. Preserving and passing on this unique experience is a vital task for all future generations of researchers. The recorded accounts of the first settlers and the oral traditions of the Native Americans themselves contain invaluable nuggets of wisdom. It is important to study them not merely as exotic customs of the past, but as practical, useful guidance for action. In a world where harsh climates are becoming increasingly unpredictable, these ancient skills may prove to be extremely and vitally necessary. The legacy of wise ancestors is a powerful, time-tested tool for adaptation, patiently awaiting its rediscovery. The story of Native Americans' survival in the icy hell of the Arctic proves the absolutely boundless power of the human spirit and mind. They have forever transformed the harsh winter from a merciless enemy into a strict yet very fair and honest teacher. Their methods of hardening, proper fat-based nutrition, and well-chosen equipment deserve the deepest respect and careful study. This remarkable people vividly demonstrated to the whole world what it means to truly live in complete harmony with the wild. Their incredible historical experience will forever remain the most striking example of the triumph of human will over the icy, snowy elements. We have examined only a small fraction of the amazing methods that allowed Native Americans to survive in the harsh conditions of the winter plains. Their ingenuity and resilience in the face of merciless nature inspire sincere admiration and compel us to take a fresh look at the capabilities of the human body. Which of these ancient practices do you think could benefit a modern city dweller? Suggest topics for future videos you'd like to see on our channel in the comments, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on new, exciting historical explorations.